Hello and welcome to Ingen Dinosaur Profile. Ceratosaurus. Height 8 feet. Length 23 feet. Diet carnivore. DNA 80% Ceratosaurus, 20% raccoon. Well, we are now on to, I believe, our third or even maybe fourth of the mid-sized carnivores that Ingen has ever created, and of course this time it's the Ceratosaurus. I picked Ceratosaurus, however, because this animal has probably one of the most unique builds of any creature that we currently know about, as well as that it is considered maybe one of the most deadly of all of the carnivores Ingen has ever cloned. To take a look at how this animal is so deadly, I think there's two categories that we need to look at. This animal's overall build as a predator, and this animal's personality. Of course, let's start off with the animal's build. We'll be taking a look at the animal's entire body to see what makes it such an effective hunter, but let's first go over its head. Ceratosaurus is one of the few dinosaurs that can actually open both its top and bottom jaw. It's unknown as to how it does this, nothing in its DNA would suggest anything abnormal, but for some reason, Ceratosaurus can move both parts of its head. That being said, it can also move each part individually too if it wanted, but if anything, that makes it even more extraordinary. Ceratosaurus also holds the record for the second longest teeth of any Ingen dinosaur, only being topped by the Tyrannosaurus rex. Moving away from the animal's jaws, let's now talk about its skull and neck. These are strong, very, very strong. Similar to the Carcharodontosaurus, Ceratosaurus has a skull that is meant for battery. This thing has been known to headbutt pretty much anything that gets on its nerves or just thinks it's just trying to hunt. There was one specific recorded attack of the Ceratosaurus going after a female Edmontosaurus, and while this battle would end up turning in the Edmontosaurus's favor, the Ceratosaurus still showed off its immense power in its skull and neck. Ceratosaurus is one of two natural carnivores in Jurassic World that has 4 fingers. It and Carnotaurus are the only ones. Combined with the fact that this animal has pretty strong arms, mainly due to the raccoon DNA, Ceratosaurus's arms are very, very useful for grabbing onto prey and items in general. Ceratosaurus eventually got the nickname the Leg Day dinosaur because Ceratosaurus's legs are built. This animal's legs are specifically designed for navigating rough and rugged terrain, and it is very, very good at doing that. The momentum that these legs give off can make Ceratosaurus go to sometimes 30 miles per hour, which is very, very fast for a carnivore of this size. Lastly, in the roster of great features, we have the Ceratosaurus's tail, which is very, very well built as well. Like most animals, the Ceratosaurus uses its tail to balance itself while it might be walking or maybe running, but the Ceratosaurus's tail is somewhat unique. Ceratosaurus has a thin and aerodynamic tail, which many people think is meant to make it go faster. And most scientists think that yes, it does help it. So, you have a predator with a unique jaw system, a strong skull and neck, strong arms, very strong legs, and a very, very useful tail. How does this not make the perfect predator? You'll usually see predators with maybe 1 or 2 of these traits. However, despite being compared to so many other medium-sized carnivores, Ceratosaurus pulls on top. We now move on to personality, which in my opinion is where it starts to get kind of dark. For this section, I'm just going to read a submission on r/Ingen corruption, which if you don't know is a Reddit where Ingen employees answer questions about Ingen or working at Jurassic World or Park. Someone on the Reddit asked, Jurassic World or Jurassic Park employees, what is the scariest dinosaur that you've had to work with? Now please enjoy some Jurassic World evolution footage as I narrate the response that someone gave. I worked in Jurassic World for 5 years, 2009 to 2014. I have seen things that no man would probably want to see ever. Most zookeepers have probably seen something gnarly at least once, and they could tell you their own horror stories, but working for a zoo filled with dinosaurs is something else. Cutting to the chase though, the Ceratosaurus is without a doubt the scariest thing I've seen. I started noticing little things that predators would do. The baryonyxes would sometimes communicate with each other through clicks. The Dilophosauruses always had a certain look in their eye when they were about to kill something, and you could always tell when they were ready. I would always pick up on how the Tyrannosaurus Rex would shake its prey violently in a very specific manner before eating it. But despite all that, I would never notice a consistent pattern with the Ceratosaurus. I remember one specific event where a male Ceratosaurus did not eat for an entire week, then suddenly when a goat is released the next Monday, it charges at it full force, knocks it 20 feet into the air, and then the deed is done. The only thing you could ever tell about it was if it had just eaten or not, because there would always be blood in the enclosure somewhere, or even sometimes on the animal. Sometimes one of them would try and tear another's face off, and the next day they would be perfectly fine in the same enclosure, 2 feet apart from each other, just staring at the other one. Sometimes it would hunt during the day, sometimes it would hunt during the night. It really didn't matter to these guys. Sometimes they'd be incredibly timid, while other times they would be out, roaring, screeching, howling into the day about whatever the hell was on their minds. I think what really scared me was how unpredictable they could be sometimes. Last thing I want to say is the eyes. God, the eyes. One time I walked into the security room, just out of convenience because I wanted to talk to the guy there, and I saw on one of the cameras that there was eye shines. It was 5 a.m. in the morning. We were both working dead graveyard shifts, and seeing that out of nowhere was kind of a big shock to me. It felt like all of a sudden I was just kicked with 700 pounds of caffeine in my system. I had to ask the guy there what the hell was going on and what those eyes were, and he simply replied, "I don't know his name, but it's the one with the horn." I remember this slick country accent very well, and I also remember feeling a sense of dread when he perfectly described the Ceratosaurus. Take what you will from this story. I know there's probably going to be people out there who think there's much scarier animals that they've created, and you're probably right. However, just from my personal experience, the Ceratosaurus will always stick out as number one. And that is all we have for this episode of Ingen Dinosaur Profile. Tell us what you think in the comments about this very odd and mysterious predator. And as always, if something chases you, run.